Hey everybody, I hope you are well. I am stuck at home as I have been for the last few days because, as many of you know, I have COVID, which thankfully isn't contagious through my phone. But it finally caught up with me. I managed to not ever have had it before, so I am feeling okay. But I'm very familiar with what many of you have described to me as the sort of COVID foggy brain. So I do feel like although I'm not feverish anymore, I definitely feel the fog. So I have more notes with me today so that I can try to remember everything that I want to talk about. The main topic, of course, that I want to touch on are energy rates, which are already high in Connecticut and just had a stiff increase in your most recent bill. And I've heard from many of you about that. It's hard on many people across the state, but particularly those who are on fixed incomes. And I know it's scary, and because there's not a lot we can do in the short run, it feels there's kind of powerless. But there are some short-term assistance available, and also some longer-term things that we're going to work on. So I just thought I know many of you have immersed yourself in this, but as just sort of a background for me to pull together various sources of information to talk about what's going on here. One major problem, of course, that we only have two energy suppliers in Connecticut: Eversource and UI. In our region, of course, it's Eversource. And that means there's little to no competition, which often, competition is able to help drive prices down. We don't have that. So your bill, there are different parts of the bill. So the cost of energy, one of the things that's going on here is the cost of energy is reset twice a year. Eversource is a delivery company, so they have to buy energy on the market. And they reset that cost twice a year. And when they do it in July, the prices generally go down. And they did this year. But what happened on that particular side is that because the summer was so hot, usage went up for a lot of people. And so even when the per unit costs went down, your bill might have gone up because there was a lot of need. It was really quite hot in the earlier parts of the summer. So that's part of it. But the other part that's had a lot of conversation is what's called the public benefit charge. And that makes up a little less than a quarter of your bill. And it supports initiatives that are intended to address clean energy initiatives and a program that prevents shutoff of power to families who are facing an economic emergency. And that latter bit was particularly pandemic related when we were in state mandated shutdown and the economy, excuse me, was in free fall, and there were a lot of things happening very quickly, and we were trying to keep people housed and also with power as benefits. They needed power to access benefits and to communicate with the state and get the help that they needed. So it was an urgent situation. But what's in that public benefits charge is what went up a lot in the bill, and that's the reason that even if your usage stayed the same and your per unit cost of energy went down, your bill went up because of that public benefits charge. And that has a couple components, as I just described. But the major component of that, about a little over 3/4, is the Millstone nuclear power plant. Now, that provides about 40% of the state's energy and about 15% of New England's energy. It is clean energy, zero emissions. So it's good in a lot of ways, but it does have an impact on our costs. So in 2017, the plant was in danger, it's 2017, of closure. They couldn't make it. And so they came to the state and said, listen, we need a guaranteed contract with you all if we can keep operating. And because of the need, the massive amount of energy they produce and the thousands of jobs that they produce also, we, in a bipartisan agreement, it's actually a Republican-led agreement, but it was bipartisan, we entered a contract to make sure that the Millstone plant stayed open. And what that means is that we pay a fixed rate for power. So what that has two effects, right? So recently, not so far in the distant past, in 22, for example, during when the war in Ukraine started up and fossil fuel prices spiked, that fixed contract helped us, and it actually kept prices lower than they would have been otherwise. But now, when that's changed, now it pops the prices up more. And so that differential, because then the difference gets reimbursed to Eversource, is passed on to the consumer. And that's what that 3/4 of that bill is. The rest of it is related to that shutoff moratorium during the pandemic. That I think there's been a lot of conversation. It went on for 4 years. That might have been a little bit too long, but it really was meant to address hardship cases. And that should really be only responsible for about $10 in your bill, depending on, of course, how big your bill is. And then there are a couple of other smaller issues in there, but those are the big ones. So that part of it, there's one of the piece of background here is that the utilities are permitted, in fact, required to get or rather they're entitled to get their costs back when they pass them along to us. So we in the state have very limited ability, because they are private companies, to make decisions about how energy is priced, or the cost of energy generally. But we do have power to look at, for example, over what period of time that cost is passed along. And we've had some recent controversy about that. So in a recent ruling, the new chair of the Public Utility Regulatory Authority, Marissa Gillette, argued that those costs should be amortized over a 2 to 3 year period. She lost that to the other two commissioners. She was outvoted, who voted to return the money to Eversource over a 10-month period. So we do have, if we can try to enact the chair's principles over that period of amortization, we can dampen that increase in bills in the future, but we won't be able to do it in the short term. So there's, not a lot we can do at the moment, unfortunately, and that's hard news for people. But we will definitely be looking at all of that when session starts up again. Now, in terms of immediate assistance, there are lots of programs in place if you're having a hard time affording your energy bill. 211 has utility assistance year round. Call your power supplier. They can get you, if you're having trouble making a payment, they can connect you to various programs, including favorable rates and renegotiation of payment period. And if you have any questions about navigating those programs, please don't hesitate to reach out to me in my office, in my aide, and we'll do the best we can to help you navigate that. So on other notes, before I got COVID, I was focusing on a couple of other things. I hope you all found some joy in the end of the Olympics. I definitely had a lot of joy in watching the U.S. women's soccer team win the gold medal this year, and also listening to a podcast that's done by a bunch of the 99ers, the gold medal winners in 1999, who are grandmas now, laughing and having fun and just pouring pure joy and love into the 2024 team. It was really a good infusion. And the other thing that has actually kept me going this week, even when I was not feeling so well, is my garden. Gardens don't stop. And when the harvesting has to happen, it has to happen. And you can do it at a slower pace, which I definitely did, but it had to happen. I had a peach tree that was falling over. It had so many peaches in it. So I've been drying peaches pretty much 24/7 and giving tomatoes away to everyone who's willing to come and pick them up at my door. So I know that's true for many of you. I spoke to somebody today who was making pesto from her excessive basil production. So I hope your gardens are bountiful and that you're also able to get outside and enjoy them. Have a good rest of the week, and I hope I will be out here of quarantine soon. Take care.